Welcome back to the Seaboard Central, everyone, in part 2 in the Simple Operating Session series. In this episode, we're going to finish up train L83 here at Ragland. Before we get started, let's talk about what we did on part number 1. So without further ado, let's get started. So for the Simple Operating Session series, the only thing I'm using is this switch list form, and I'm using it as a makeshift industry work order. And here's a blank version of one. And here's the one that I filled out to make it into an industry work order. And so far we've worked National Cement, which I've designated as classification code R50. And you can see the loads that we pulled, I've left on the Ragland main or RGMA. And the empties that we placed are actually at R50. So I ended up placing the new cars at the rear of the track. And that's the cars that the track mobile is coupled up to. And as you can see, it didn't take them long to start working on them. He's already got one loaded and pushed out the other side of the building, and they're working on the second one. Now here at ADM, the cars that are ready to be pulled are the 2 tank cars at the rear of the tank car track. They're loaded and ready to go. And then I've got 5 cars here on track 4 that are ready and 5 that are on track 5. And you can already see I've coupled to those cars in track 5 with my spot cars that are coming in. All right, to get started here, you can see here are the 4 loads that came out of R50 that we've shoved by on the main line. And what we're going to do first is uncouple the tank cars from the 8 loads of corn that are in the ADM runaround. And what I used to uncouple the cars is a KD uncoupling pick, just like this. But you could also use a bamboo skewer. All right, with the cut made, let's pull ahead and clear the switch. And good. So what we're doing right now is we're coming in and we're coupling up to these 3 that are hanging out and are considered off spots. And they're just on the R49 lead. Just a way to store some surplus cars. They'll end up being cycled in. Industries like ADM Ethanol, where they load out tank cars, we generally have a derail and a blue flag that protects the industry. What has to happen before we can actually go in there and work the place is a representative from the industry will come out and remove the flag. And if they have their own lock, they'll take their lock off, and then we'll remove the derail. All right, so now we're coupled up to all the cars on the ADM Ethanol lead. The blue flag's been removed and the derail is in the off position. But before we can couple up to these tank cars that are spotted up underneath the loading platform, the conductor's going to have to do an inspection to make sure there's nothing going on, everything's secured, nothing's connected, all the tank cars are ready to go. So everything looks good. We'll go ahead and proceed to couple up. In this case, we want to do it real easy because these cars are at the rear of the track. And good. All right, this is where the benefit of having both a conductor and a brakeman can come in handy. So the conductor is back there with those tank cars. The brakeman's out here on the head end, and he's lined this switch to the main line. Now the engineer's going to pull ahead. The brakeman can walk back to the tank car switch and proceed in setting the 2 loads out on the ADM lead. With 2 more to go. Car and a half. 1 more. And a half. That's good. All right, we're going to just shove the 2 loads by, and then we'll go back in and spot the empties. Time to pull ahead and clear the switch. That'll do. Now we're just easing back around the ADM ethanol lead. We're going to come around here looking out, keep everything nice and slow. Conductor's going to be watching the crossing, make sure nobody pulls out in front of them or walks out in front of them. Keeping the speed slow like this, so make sure that if we have to do a stop real quick, we'll be able to. We got everything under control. Now 1 car length before we get to the rear of that track, we'll need to do a safety stop. And then we can spot everything up to where they need to go. So at this point, you tell the engineer that's good. The engineer can bring the movement to a stop. Now we're going to resume. We're going to ease these cars back into place. And at this point, the engineer's got both the train line air brakes on, got a little bit of air brakes on the cars. Plus they're using the brakes on the engine. Just a little bit more. We want to spot these platforms right underneath the tipple. There you go, right there. All right, at this point, the conductors put 3 handbrakes on all 3 of the cars that are spotted up underneath the platforms, and they've done what they call a C102 handbrake test. And that's where the engineer will knock the train line off, and we'll time the cars for 1 minute to look for movement. As long as they don't go anywhere, we know the handbrakes are good. Now we can slack off and leave the rest of these cars, these empty tank cars, on the ADM ethanol lead. So we just slack off and clear the crossing. That should be good enough. Now the same procedure is being done for these 3 that are left on the ADM ethanol lead, but maybe only 2 handbrakes, a minimum of 2 handbrakes have been applied. They're not going anywhere. Now we can slack off and go back to these loaded cars of corn on the ADM runaround. All right, we've coupled to this long string of cars that went all the way into track number 5 at ADM. And we're going to pull these out, take them out. And we're going to set them on top of those 2 loaded tank cars that are on the ADM lead. And here comes the 5 now, including 1 loaded car of DDG and 4 empties previously had corn. And I need 2 more to clear the switch. 1 more. Half of it. And that will do. Now we're going to shove these 4 empties and 1 load by and clear that ADM runaround. We'll couple to those 2 tank cars and we'll have to shove them back some. Now we're easing them back, and in this case, the conductor's protecting the shove move. Make sure we don't shove into the ADM engine. We're gonna have to get a little close, but we have plenty of room. Should make it. That'll do. All right, the next thing we're going to do is fill up tracks number 5 and 6. 4 cars each with this loaded corn. One more and that'll do. That's good. All right, now we're going to pull ahead and leave the 2 empty DDG hoppers on the ADM runaround. All we need to do is just clear this crossover. Anywhere in there is good. All right, now we're going to couple back up on those cars that are on the ADM lead. We're almost finished. We're going to pull ahead and clear this crossover and then grab track number 4 and pull it out to the main line. And that'll do. All right, everything out, all the way out. Now we're just going to couple up to the 4 loaded cement hoppers, pull it down, hang our EOT, make a brake test and a list of the train. Let me stop short. Not going to line up. One more. And that'll do. All right, just to wrap the video up, I've completed the industry work order. I've showed the cars that we pulled on the Ragland main, the cars that we placed at R48. There's 2 loaded ethanol tanks that are on the Ragland main and the 2 empties are in R49. In addition, I've made a list of the outbound train. This is how the train stands now. From the cars, from the engines to the rear car where the EOT's hanging. Shows the car numbers, what type of car they are, whether they're loaded or empty, what they're loaded with. And these are the classification codes where their next movement will be. So you got cars going to Carrollton, cars that need to be interchanged to both CSX, BNSF, and also NS. So I hope you've enjoyed the simple operating session on the Seaboard Central. And if you did, I appreciate a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. During the month of June, we're going to do something a little more formal operating session that's going to take place in the Gadsden yard. So be sure to tune in for that one. And until next time, I'm Tim Garland. Thanks for watching the Seaboard Central.